The second day of the 57th International Biel Chess Festival is officially over, and it was the rapid tournament in both Masters and Challengers Triathlon. Very thrilling game. Only 5 rounds. The round robin of 6 players in each group. In the end, we had two very clear winners in both groups, but the highlight of the game was probably this game of Pragananda playing against the young German star Vincent Keimer. So this was seemingly like a peaceful Italian game, but I've always believed chess is as exciting as the both players are. And they played out a rather peaceful opening, but it turned out to be massive fireworks. So let's have a look at what happened in this game. After bishop c4, knight f6, d3. So here the players are playing out one of the most played openings in the history of chess, very old history. Bishop c5, c3, a6, short castle, bishop a7. All of this has been played before, so maybe let's not talk too much about this. a4 is the touch of the modern chess. Very popular thing lately. You try to grab a lot of space advantage at the queen side. Black has numerous ways how to counter it. So here, Vincent decided to respond with d6, pretty normal way to play. Rook e1, castles, h3, h6, knight e2, bishop e6. So here Black has fully completed development. White still has the bishop on c1. Here Prague played bishop e6 and grabbed even more space at the queen side. So one of the typical ideas that White wants to do at some point is to put the knight on f1, put the rook on a2 to make sure that b5 push is happening and the pawn on f2 is not under attack, and go for the d4 push. So they can continue with knight e7, knight f1 and knight g6 because the German felt that this knight does a lot better job at the king side. Here, White played knight g3 and d5, clearly hinting that after e takes on d5, the pawn on d5 is very dangerous to grab because this opens up the f2 pawn for some potential tactics. So here Prague made a very unusual mistake. He played queen c2, seemingly an okay move because he's threatening to take on d5 and grab the pawn on e5 in some variations. Now here, Vincent spent quite some time and then he uncorked unbelievable move. Knight h5, just hanging the knight, just like that. So you're probably wondering what's the idea. So the idea is not only to take on g3, but also threaten with rook takes on f3. So this is actually White's only choice. He has nothing better because if he plays something like king h2, rook takes on f3 still is going to happen, followed by moves like knight f4, queen h4, and you can easily get checkmated here. So that's why here White played a knight takes on h5, accepted this, and after rook takes on f3, again, there's no better choice than to accept the sacrifice. The point is, if he retreats with a knight on g3, Black can simply collect the knight. As you can see, there is a pin on the a7, g1 diagonal. So g takes on f5 was played, queen h4, yet another brilliant response by Keimer. You cannot play knight g3 for the same reasons. Black just collects the knight, there's a pin. So king h2, queen h5, and rook g1. Here, the young Indian tried to stop the bleeding. So rook f8, Black's position just plays itself. The initiative is unfolding very quickly. Rook g3, knight h4 apparently was a minor missed opportunity. Here the engine suggests that he could have played rook takes on f3 immediately with the following line that after bishop e3, rook g3, bishop e3, queen g5, Black is pressing, probably winning the pawn on e3, but it's still not a win. So he played knight h4, a very normal move, followed by queen e2, the only move for White. King h7, here Keimer was being cautious and slowly improving his position. Bishop e3, and a beautiful move, d4, which was probably missed by Prague from afar. Now the idea is that after c takes on d4 and e takes on d4, suddenly this bishop on a7, you'd expect that it's going to do something at this diagonal. However, no. Here Black was thinking about ideas like c6 and bishop b8, creating another powerful battery here at the long diagonal of b8, h2. Bishop d2 was the response by White, c6 here played by Keimer. Engine suggests that c5 might be slightly more accurate. Still, c6 looks pretty human. White played e5, tried to close the diagonal. And rook f5, king h1, avoiding knight f3 idea so that it doesn't come with a check, because then can white continue with king g2 and try to take the knight away. Here, bishop b8 was played, and apparently here, rook g1 was a massive mistake by Prague. Instead, what he should have done, which was very difficult to pick up, queen e4 was the only defense to keep the position level, threatening to play queen g4, and after knight takes on f3, now you see the bishop is under attack. Here, white had to pick up bishop f4. So threatening to collect the knight and get eventually an equal position. The knight retreats, and then only then you play rook g1. So this was really difficult to pick up because this is still a rapid game. So here, white played rook g1. Very, very cute idea, because you're probably wondering, why not bishop takes on e5? So it makes perfect sense. Hit the rook on g3, collect the pawn on f3, and everything seemingly falls apart. Now here, this was Prague's planned idea to sacrifice the queen. Queen takes on e5. You cannot really take it because this is a classical Chigorin mate on the board. That's why here this was obviously noticed by both players. g5 was the response of Keimer. The pawn on e5 is still under attack. And here Prague's position was starting to fall apart. So he played queen e4, and now something unthinkable happened here. Knight takes on f3, queen g4. All Keimer had to do is just decline the queen trade. So he was completely winning here. The clock situation was about 20 seconds on the clock. Just play queen f7, and white has nothing better to do than to sacrifice the exchange on f3, and his position is simply falling apart. Now instead, Vincent started to make a lot of mistakes in this position. He played queen takes on g4, h takes on g4. Now he cannot take on g1 because his own rook on f5 is under attack. He retreated, still had a great position. Rook d1, knight e5, king g2. You couldn't help but feel that Prague has a chance to save the game. Exchange for 2 pawns, the game is still ongoing. Only 5 seconds per every made move. Here black played knight g6, rook h3. Another missed opportunity by Keimer. He should have played bishop f4, trade the bishops, put the knight on f4, and have very good chances to win the game. Instead, he played knight h4 check. Very tempted to give checks when your time scramble. And now, slowly but carefully, Prague started to improve the position, and this was everyone's game. So we slowly got to a critical moment of the game. Vincent clearly felt that the momentum of the game is gone. He tried to find a way to improve the position, played c5. Prague, in the meantime, activated his rooks. And we reached the critical moment where white already was no longer worse. So we go right back to this moment after rook b1, rook a1. Players were shuffling the pieces here and there. Knight b6, knight e5, rook a1. Now Prague tried it another time, and here the final mistake by Keimer. He played rook e7, missing Prague's response, and what a devilish trap it was. So Prague played rook c8, threatening to double the rooks at the final rank. You're probably wondering, why not knight b6, the same idea that was serving the young Germans so well in the past couple of moves? The problem is very tactical. After knight e6 here, the young Indian found a beautiful shot. Rook takes on c7, bishop a5, simply collecting 2 pieces for the rook. And this means white is up an extra piece. So the game continued with c4, bishop b6, c takes on d3 and king d3. And the rest was easy for Prague, scoring a very important clutch victory. Of course, Keimer tried to fight back, but it was simply too much. There was nothing he would have done. And eventually he had to resign. Absolutely thrilling game in one of the final rounds, round 4 of the rapid tournament, which meant that this catapulted Prague closer to the leaderboard and gave him an excellent chance to fight for the victory in the rapid tournament. And these are the final standings of both Challengers and Masters tournament. As you can see, because of Prague's misfortunes actually in the final round, because he blew a winning position against Sam Shanklin. This gave the opportunity for Matrosyan secure the victory in the tournament with 7 points. He drew against Limle. In the meantime, second and third place is shared by Prague and Vincent Keimer. about the challenges. It was a very, very crazy final battle in Donchenko's game against Maurizi. Everyone could have won the game. As Donchenko said himself in the post-game interview, none of the games really made any sense. It was very, very crazy, but still he was very happy to win the game. And Salem Saleh was able to win Vaishali in the direct encounter in their final round game, overtake her in the final standings of the Rapid tournament, and get 6 points and the second place. Bjerre and Vaishali third place. Everybody else had less. So this is only the first tournament of the triathlon. The yesterday's Chess 960 tournament served only as merely for fun, as a tiebreaker in case there will be a tie after all 3 tournaments. The Rapid tournament is the very first, which is going to be counted for the triathlon. There's still more tournaments coming. There's the Blitz tournament, there's the classical tournament, also the final stage with more games in the classical chess with much more points to given out to the winners. So more action is coming back on Tuesday. So don't miss it. Come back at 2 p.m. Central European Summer Time, the local time here in Switzerland, Biel. We're going to be back, and make sure you are also tuning. Enjoy.